You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
Happy Sunday morning, everybody. I'm Scott Couch. For the next 30 minutes, we are talking politics. I've got two Democrats right here, actually right there, two Republicans right here, almost did a party switch right on live television. And we're going to discuss local and state topics and give each of our members an opportunity to weigh in it. And hopefully, if you're watching, you'll learn something about it. Maybe it'll impact how you feel about things. Jasper Hendricks back with us, Democratic strategist, current chair of the Metro Fair Board. Great to see you, sir. Right beside him, Steve Gill, who's a Nashville attorney, also a political analyst for TV and radio and publisher of TristarDaily.com, a Republican news site that I would encourage you to check out. Kenya Magruder back with us, Nashville native, one of the few, and a Democratic strategist, worked in Congress and back in Nashville now. Jason Weekly, who is the chair of the Davidson County Republican Party. Glad to have you back. I was teasing Jason the last time I invited him on. It was Halloween night. He said, sorry, can't help you. I've got family responsibilities on that night, but we got him back in here.
Also Nashville native.
Yes, yes, one of the few. I'm sure you guys run into people all the time. It's like, where are you from? North Dakota, Maine, everybody's from someplace else. Well, guys, I want to talk about the governor's race because we got a little foreshadowing just in the last couple of days of something that I think could well be used in a campaign ad. In fact, when it happened, I thought this is fodder for the campaign. And the story involves Congressman John Rose and U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn and the recently passed budget that first passed the Senate and then the House to end the government shutdown. There was a provision in that budget on the Senate side that would allow all U.S. senators whose phone records had been subpoenaed by the Justice Department, Jack Smith, as a part of his investigation into efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, to sue the federal government, sue you and me, the federal government, for up to $500,000. I think the full amount, if everybody recovered that amount, was something like $8 million, something like that. Both of our Tennessee senators were eligible, and it passed the Senate. Obviously, it originated there. The House felt as if they had to pass it because they were trying to get the government back in operation, although some House Republicans and Democrats said, hey, what about that? Not wanting to do that. But again, do you want to be responsible for further keeping the government closed? So they passed it. Well, the following day, John Rose, who said he almost voted no because of it, but didn't want to for the reasons I outlined, called out Marsha Blackburn on X, and he may have done it other places, but he said, this is a cash grab. You shouldn't be in this bill, and I would encourage you to backpedal and please reconsider. And within 24 hours, she had done just that. And my question is, and I'll start out with you, Steve, is this something that is going to become part of a campaign ad? You can almost write the text yourself.
Well, John is getting national attention, a lot of social media attention for pointing this out. And this is a completely self-inflicted wound by the U.S. Senate. After passing 15 clean continuing resolutions to throw anything in it, much less something that was self-profiting, was a horrible mistake. It's not a clean bill when you make it dirty. I used the example the other day. If I put my reds and whites in the washing machine together, I shouldn't be surprised when my clothes come out pink. When they put a different thing into a clean resolution, it is dirty and it's properly being exposed. Now they need to figure out who put it in. There are going to be fingerprints. Whoever put this in knew what they were doing, and they ought to be exposed.
Now, I should point out, in the just to complete fairness, that Marsha Blackburn and Tennessee's other senator, Bill Hagerty, said, "Look, we were not trying to do a cash grab. This was an effort to punish the Justice Department, which they believed had been politicized and used against them."
The Department of Justice employees who did it by firing them. If they're a lawyer and they did this illegally or unethically, they should lose their law license. You don't punish us taxpayers because some bureaucrats did wrong. Look, when I was a kid...
You're stealing the Democrats' thunder, Steve.
I loved when my brothers got spanked, but I never wanted to get spanked for what they did. We shouldn't get spanked as taxpayers for what a bunch of DOJ employees did under the Biden administration.
In the interest of fairness, I wanted to explain what both Bill Hagerty and Marsha Blackburn had said. Kenya, you've been on the inside. You've been in congressional offices. What do you imagine, what was at work here, and what do you think the fallout will be?
I mean, we all know that this was probably a way to,
fill up their pockets and to also to punish federal employees who were basically working on this investigation. And truth be told, Congressman Rose also voted for it. So while he is sticking her for making this move, he also voted for it. As far it doesn't matter, it's two people who participated in doing something that will cause problems for the American people. Right now, everything's coming out of the American people's pockets, and right now this is exposing where someone else is filling up their pockets.
Toward her point, Jasper, should Rose have voted no? Because to his point, he said, I don't want to be the guy that's continuing to hold up the government. He's trying to clean it up on the backside.
I mean, he could have voted no, but then also I think people could have pointed it out while the process was going on, and it could have probably been stricken out of the legislation when it was going through the process in the Senate in the beginning, because for them to say that they didn't know that it was in, that means that tells you right there that they didn't read the legislation.
Doesn't that happen all the time, though?
Right, and that's a problem, and that's what people say. That is a huge problem, that a lot of our legislators are not reading the actual legislation and not understanding what it is that they're actually voting on. And so when you have people who are putting in, sort of poison pills, such as this, and then their defense is, I didn't know that I was going to be benefited. And yes, they were investigated.
She said, my intent was not to line my pockets.
But also you being investigated because you were receiving and making phone calls to people on January 6th. So you were being investigated just to try to make sure maybe it could have cleared you. It could have been investigating you to clear you of any wrongdoing.
I don't want to end this topic, but I've got to squeeze a break in. We're going to pick the conversation up right here on the other side. You're watching Nashville in Focus, and we will be right back.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
We were cooking with gas right before the commercial break, and I hated to interrupt. Jasper, as you were saying, sir.
Yeah, and I also say, we also are seeing this type of behavior too with the president, who is reportedly seeking $230 million from the Justice Department, for investigation. So, we have to start asking, are we going to start paying everybody who's being investigated by the Justice Department? Because then there's a long list on that's about to happen.
Well, I haven't heard that Glenn Cassidy is coming after them, but that may be coming. Jason, I want to give you an opportunity to weigh in before we leave this topic.
Sure. Well, I think if all this stuff that has happened under the Biden administration, going after political opponents and enemies, all the way down to the Loudoun County School Board families, it's just a lot of lawfare that's been going on during the 4 years of Biden. And do we remedy that? Yes. How we remedy that is sadly not up to me. Nobody came and asked me first, but I think that
we could solve a lot of problems if we would run this.
If they just came to all of us first
GOP
and asked
before
us.
some of these things happen.
Yes, but I think that we need to resolve it and remedy it, but how and why, or how exactly, is not up to me. And I'm not going to jump into a partisan primary race because my bylaws don't let me.
I think that's wise. Stay out of it while although the president has already weighed in on some of the primaries.
He can do that. He's
he
in
has
charge.
not weighed in on this one, and I'm very eager to see if and when he will. Guys, let's switch, races. Let's move on over to the 7th District congressional race, which is about as hot as it can be. Early voting started a couple of days ago, and this is the race where Martin Green retires back in the summer, Republican congressman, seats up for grabs, and you've got Afton Bain, the state the state representative, who's the Democratic nominee, and you've got Matt Van Epps, the former General Services Commissioner, who is the Republican nominee. And we'll start over here. We've seen some ads this week. It seems that there is not only the candidates that have money in the game, but there are special interests who are weighing in on this race as well. I'm sure you've probably seen some ads.
Yeah, it's the only House race that's going on, and it's very important for the Republican Party to increase that margin even by one vote. What concerns me, I'm just going to kind of answer this as a voter myself.
Sure.
What concerns me is the left driving too far to the left with a candidate like Afton Bain. I'm as an American student of history, what concerns me the most is this hard left turn towards communism and socialist ideologies. It's dangerous. I don't like it for the country.
You know, it's interesting that Afton Bain, and I read this last week, she said, if I, am elected, I'm not beholden to Hakeem Jeffries as the leader of the House. Your thoughts on what you've seen of the race? And there is some money in here, and we're not going to really know who it's coming from because we won't get the returns in until after the election's over.
I mean, we wouldn't know who it's coming from because they have to provide disclosures on items, especially on advertising. So you have the little tagline.
I know, but
so
sometimes you don't know who that is.
You'll see, right? Yeah, and but after you do research like I do. Yeah. We can
Americans
find out
for Justice.
We just won't know. We just won't know how much the total is. Until afterwards.
Are you hearing anything?
But there's a lot of money that's going to be put into the race from on both sides of the aisle. So there's and this isn't the only race. There's a race in Houston, but this is a race that could be flipped.
But Democrats think they can get it.
Houston is a Democratic, it's a safe Democratic seat that's up, and their runoff is on the same day. But but Democrats are going to make a play. Like there's the chair of the DNC has been here. We have several
Texas
people with
Congresswoman
money.
Was here last week.
Well, she wasn't here. She did a virtual thing. She did a virtual
right.
town hall.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people that's going to be the base is going to come out. And so whether it's because they're coming out for communism or socialism, the thing is they're coming out because they want change. They don't like the direction in which the current administration is heading. They don't like the fact that we're paying more in groceries right now than we were this time last year. They don't like the fact that the stability of our nation is at jeopardy and that we are creating enemies unnecessarily with people who are longtime allies. So that's what people are coming out, not because of communism and socialism.
Yeah. Kenya, your thoughts?
Well, I think that Afton is a good candidate. She's who the people in the 7th congressional district voted for, and so therefore this could be a sea change. More young people will probably get out to vote for her. She's 35 years old, so
youngest state rep sitting.
Exactly, and she has experience. I mean, her opponent does not have the experience, and at this point in time, we actually need someone who is going to go up and actually take the serious business that's coming across the desk in Congress and bring it back to the 7th congressional district. So
the early voting numbers are somewhat interesting, a little better than the primary.
Yeah, and
both sides.
I would point out that Afton got
days.
30% or so in the Democratic primary. Matt Van Epps got 52% with more voters in the general. And food prices are down. They're down dramatically from where they were a year ago. And
They're not down.
bread.
Egg prices are down.
They're all down.
Why were they up in the first place?
Prices up.
Yeah, they are down from where they were a year ago, and to get your Thanksgiving meal is going to be about 25% less.
I doubt it. And here's the other thing too: is that people who are going to go shopping are making some different changes about how they're going to spend their Thanksgiving. Some
Only
people
one pumpkin pie this year.
They're spending
only
less
one
than they
pumpkin
were
pie.
under Biden, and y'all are not being honest
because they
about
have
that.
less money under
That's not true either.
No.
administration.
Y'all need to at least bring
and more
facts
people,
if you're
and
gonna
people
talk.
are getting also losing their jobs too. So what's going to happen?
Well, let's tell people this. Early voting goes on until the 26th of November. The general election is December the 2nd. It is critical that folks vote. I think there's 13 counties in there.
14.
Davidson County, 14. Montgomery County, Williamson County. I mean, if you look at this district, it's crazy. But it's important that you get out there and vote. We've got to squeeze in a commercial break, a lot of ground to cover. We're going to take up a State House seat that's up for grabs when we come back. You're watching Nashville in Focus on Fox 17.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
We're turning now to a South Nashville House seat that will be up for grabs next year. Didn't know it was going to happen, but District 59, State Rep Caleb Hemmer, Nashville Democrat. Jasper, we'll start with you. He said, I'm not going to run, need to spend more time with the family, taking care of my business. There is a Republican and a Democrat that's already in, a retired state trooper named Mark Proctor, whom you may know, Democrat, and Bill Hancock running as a Republican, but it looks like the Republicans would like to wrestle this seat away. Not that the Democrats have a ton of seats.
What they do? They want all 99.
That's
you know,
right.
I mean, they do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, let's just put that on the table. But they're going to have to fight for this one. Caleb did a very good job at holding the seat and actually increasing the margins over the last during the last election. He was a hard-working rep. It's going to be interesting to see if anybody else is going to get in the race. But right now, I think Caleb has recruited, and so along with our caucus chairman, I think he's former lieutenant colonel.
Yes, which is maybe the number 2 guy in the THP.
Right. Yeah. He was part of Bredis's detail.
Yeah.
You know, and everything. You know, from back in. So he has. He knows the Hill, so to speak, and so he has relationships. You know, so hopefully that will help with fundraising. But we'll see how it is. Well, you know, when he goes out knocking on doors, like Caleb did, because that's how Caleb won. He knocked on doors. He went and visited voters. He was out there. So he was an extremely hard worker. And so we'll just see if Proctor will follow in his footsteps.
He's already got a little ad out. I guess, you know, you see those ads on Facebook. Kenya, have you looked this guy up to check him out? I just did the other day.
I read the article that was in the banner, and, you know, the same thing that you and Jasper just talked about. It's an open seat. Hope that we can keep it, and we hope that he goes and talks about what voters need to have in the district. So, good luck.
Let's talk about Bill Hancock. Is this somebody that you know?
Yeah, I've met him. I think he's a really great candidate, good guy for the job. I think the district is winnable by the Republican Party, and I really do think, I mean, as a Nashville resident, I think it's important that we have another voice on our delegation to Capitol Hill. On the local bill issues, we need a Republican voice in the room with the Democrats. That, you know, there's 10 House seats, and all of them are held by the Democrats. If there's a Republican, a
Steve
bipartisan.
Dickerson used to be kind of the lone, one of the lone voices from Davidson County.
I mean, we have Mark Pody in the Senate, so
He's got a
our
little
lone,
sliver.
our lone Republican delegate for Davidson County. But if we have a bipartisan delegation to Capitol Hill, we get more of a voice when it comes to the local bill issues. And I think it's important to rebuild that relationship between the county and the state.
Well, and Jasper made the case that the Republicans won them all. They won all 99.
That's not going to happen. There's some districts that we can't win. There's some districts they can't win.
Sure.
Himmer won this one by about 1,500 votes a year and a half ago.
Is that a lot or not a big deal?
Not a lot
huge
for that,
number,
no.
but then he was unopposed last time. And I
Yeah.
think that the problem for Proctor is he's going to be way too moderate for where the Democratic Party is. I mean, you've got the Afton bench, you've got the Heidi Campfields, you've got more left wing.
That is not true.
He is not. He is
That's true.
not
I'm
left
gonna
wing.
tell you. I mean, what's your fascination with how we do what we do on our side when you guys have convicted criminals that are running your party? You know, and people
Name
who are
the
working
convicted
every
criminals
day.
that are running our party.
Your president, number one.
Yeah, he was
and
convicted on
he was
lies and
No,
misinformation.
but he's convicted.
and by
He's a
bogus
convicted felon,
judges.
and he keeps
But
letting
I thought
people
this was a
out.
local show.
And he keeps letting people out.
always say this
but you
is a
know, you
local
keep bringing,
show.
but you keep bringing
It's
up,
always good for conversation.
but you keep bringing up AOC and
Jasper,
Jasmine Crockett,
Jasper,
and they're not here.
Afton
You know,
Ben is
and so
local.
our party.
Afton
The
Ben
truth
is local.
is,
You know
the
she's
truth,
local,
the truth
right?
is that
You
we
do know
welcome.
the truth,
The
right?
truth is that we
She's
welcome
local. Hang
everybody
on, guys.
into our party.
She
Because
is
we
local.
welcome everyone.
Okay.
Everyone has a seat at our party.
If you're not
at the
left wing,
table.
you're not gonna win in
Everyone,
Davidson
everyone. No, that is not true.
I've got a
And
squeeze
so
in
we
a
have
commercial
to-
break. I'm going to try to sort this one out
on
while
whether
we're
he
on
wins
break.
that primary.
You're watching National in Focus, and we will be right back.
You're watching Fox 17 News, Nashville in Focus.
I want to take up a Metro issue on our final segment. Don't have a ton of time, but Jacob Coopin, the downtown's councilman, has introduced a piece of legislation that would create the Midtown Business Improvement District, which essentially allow the businesses in that area to hang on to a little piece of the tax revenue that they generate to use on improvements in the area and maybe extra security to help police. This was criticized in the downtown business district when they did it, Jasper, and you live downtown, that's why I'm asking. It was criticized for a lack of oversight by council, and I guess some didn't like them using private cops to run all the homeless people off. Will it go here?
I mean, all I'm going to say is it's more taxes to just eat at a restaurant downstairs. You know, I'm curious to see how it's going to play out amongst the residents, the people who actually live downtown, those of us who live downtown, and see how they talk to us about it. because we do, we live down there, so we like
It
to
would affect you.
Yeah, we like to eat downtown and shop downtown, and not have to get in my car and go across the line to Williamson County.
Because you don't want to pay the park.
Right, because I already have to pay the park everywhere I go, and then and all that. But that is the cost of living downtown. Now, this is a great idea in getting tax revenue back in, but this whole thing that tourists are going to pay and college students. So I think that's the explanation that I heard, is that you're going to bank on other people pay, but what about the people who live here? Like, those of us who live here.
Jason, what do you think? You're a Nashville guy too.
Yeah, I think what I've heard is it's coming from their property taxes and not a sales tax. So I could be wrong on that, but I like the idea for the fact that it's local autonomy, because there's a board, the business owners get to decide how the money is used for beautification and safety in the area. But the other point that I wanted to make is we wouldn't have to be doing this as much if the city actually allocated more resources that they already take out of our property taxes, and they increased this year for more safety and beautification. I mean, this is a local business community coming together and saying, we're not getting what we need, so we're asking you to raise our taxes so that we can decide how that little bit is spent. So
that's a good explanation. Steve, your thoughts? Don't have a ton of time.
Yeah, I would just say that the problem is you're letting the business owners decide to raise taxes that also affect the residents who aren't making money. So it's pretty easy to pass the taxes to those who really don't get a vote, don't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
So I think it will likely have some problems from the residents, even though the business owners always like to take up somebody else's money to make more profits.
Kenya, were you bothered by the lack of oversight on the downtown business district? The executive director makes a fortune, and for 20 years they weren't audited by the council as they should have been.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing is that I get what he's trying to do, but I also don't like the fact that you're trying to use private security. We have Metro police officers, and
But
maybe this could be funded to help put more over in the community. The other thing too is that we also have to start doing some different things to start getting some other things. So while we are trying to tax this district, you're also experiencing over on the other side of downtown, kind of like on Music Row, where you're about to start
increasing parking fees,
adding parking fees, and so it's a catch-22. This is already passed. Maybe
what passed on first reading,
and it's supposed to come back up in December. So
going to have to leave it there because we are flat out of time. Guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week on Nashville in Focus.